Good morning, everybody. My name is Ryan Gilkerson, lead creative here at Company 119, and once again, it's time for the Coffee Cup. We meet some really cool people around the Cleveland area that we get to talk to about digital marketing and all aspects therein, and today is no different. We're going to be joined today by Annie Murray from Whitespace Creative. Annie, we really appreciate you taking the time to come hang out with us today.
Hi, good to be here.
So, Annie, you are the copy director at Whitespace. Tell us a little bit about what that means.
Whitespace is an integrated marketing agency in downtown Akron. We've been here since 1994. I've been here coming up on 6 years, and as the copy director, I'm sort of overseeing any written word that comes out of the agency. So I help a lot in terms of large-scale branding efforts, in terms of discovery and concepting and strategy and all of that. But then I'm still very closely involved in content production, the nitty gritty. I blog for clients, I do website writing, and I'm also active on the print side as well.
Awesome. We thank you so much for joining us today. I've heard a lot of great stuff about Whitespace. We've got some mutual friends that have tremendous things to say, so I'm really glad you could be here with us today. So
Great.
Tell us a little bit. We have a lot of people that watch our podcast that just want to know about content, what makes good content, what separates interesting content from non-interesting content. They want to know how much they should worry about the technical and SEO aspects versus creative and storytelling aspects. So can you give us a little bit of what you find to be successful in your day-to-day efforts for clients between balancing the creative side of things and the technical side of things and worrying about all the aspects of SEO versus just making really good content that people care about?
Yeah, absolutely. My background, I actually came from a strictly creative and more academic world. I have an MFA in creative writing, and I used to teach before I started here. So I don't have that formal background in advertising and marketing. So everything I've learned has been on the job. So when I started, it was all about, storytelling. It's so important. And I thought, okay, I could do this. I know how to write a good story. I know how to connect, and that emotional connection. And that was definitely my foot in the door. And I think that is still the number one priority, is kind of uncovering those that emotional connection and those truths, and what does a person want, and how can you help give them that and provide that. So I think that's always going to be the main priority. But the fact of the matter is, you can craft and spin the best narrative in the world, the best story in the world. But if people can't find it, that's a problem. So I think that's where SEO and SEM and all the things that we do strategically to get the content out there definitely become kind of a tier 2 priority. And then again, if you have this wonderful idea, but it's riddled with errors and it's sloppy, and they're gonna get a hook, and then they're gonna find it, but you're gonna lose them really fast. So they're all important. They all have to play together.
I'm similar to you. When I came to Company 119, I was a content writer that was strictly on that creative side. And, I really didn't know much about SEO when I started. I just knew I liked to write and I liked to be creative. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, here's this whole other piece that we have to work into your creative content. And that kind of complicates things a little bit. One of the things that I had no idea about when I started at this company was microcopy, which is something that you speak about a lot. It's kind of this element of user experience that gets taken for granted a lot. So tell us a little bit about what microcopy is first.
Sure, and you're not alone in not knowing that word. I mean, like I said, I'm coming up on 6 years here, and it's something that I really just got into in the last maybe year or two, when I started getting more interested in UX writing, and it's just because everything is going online now. So it's important for anyone to kind of learn those terms and understand them. So microcopy is all of those little blurbs of explainer copy on your website that help people do the things that they need to actually do while they're there. So you have your sales copy that talks about your products and your services, and that's always going to be very glamorous and exciting. And then you have your branding copy, which is going to tell your story, and it's going to be your about and your mission and all of that. But the micro copy is going to tell people, click here to download, or it's going to tell them, it's those buttons that say learn more, or it's going to tell you how to fill out a form that you need to fill out. Or if you have e-commerce, it's going to direct you on how to actually make a purchase. So it's the stuff that just tells people how to move around the unfamiliar space that is your website.
Sure. I feel like if you give me 1,000 words, I'm verbose, I'm a virtuoso, I'll lay it out for you with 1,000 words. You give me 8 to 10 words to put in a button, and I get so stumped sometimes with those little calls to action and those little. So do you have any advice for somebody in terms of how to make really powerful use of the microcopy spaces that they have on a page?
Yeah, absolutely. So microcopy is all of the little bits of explainer copy that are all over your website. So it's the little tiny directions that actually tell people how to do the things that they need to do while they're on your site. So it's click here to download. It's a button that tells you, view our blog post, or if you have a form, it's telling you how to fill in the form. If you have e-commerce, it's the directives that tell you how to actually make a purchase. So it's different from, your sales copy, which is going to highlight your products or services, or your branding copy, which is going to really tell your story and your mission and your history. It's just kind of those little pieces that are helping you navigate a space that's unfamiliar to you. Because when you leave a page, you're going to be disoriented all over again.
Sure.
So they don't want to leave the page they're on without knowing where they're going. So it's view products, it's read our story, it's download now. You could also use them to encourage them even. So instead of saying sign up, if whatever they're signing up is for, sign up for free, kind of build that into it as well.
Sure. Can people get too creative with those? But do you see examples where people try to do too much in terms of creativity in those little spaces that they have on the page?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said before, it has to serve the purpose, and it's easy to kind of get carried away. It should, you can delight people and surprise them with these little touches of personality and everything with your microcopy. But if you're doing it in every instance of microcopy, it's too much, and it starts to sound desperate. It's like that person who's saying, "Oh, like me, I'm funny."
Right.
So you just want to sprinkle them in sparingly.
That is great. I really appreciate hearing about that. So for content in general, moving back just a step from the microcopy, can you give just some of our small business owners that watch this and are trying to come up for creative ideas for content for their business, can you give anybody just some general tips on where to start when they sit down to create content for their site, a blog piece, or even adding extra wording for their product pages or whatever it might be? Can you give somebody a good idea of where to start when they're planning out some content strategy?
Well, in terms of content strategy, it really needs to start with thinking about who your top 2 or 3 audiences are and what you want them to do. So I think first with the key people on your team, whoever that's going to be, whether that's, creative, support, but then also people who know the products, people who are dealing with the customers. You get all those people in a room and you say, okay, who are we talking to and what do we want them to do? And then once you figure that out, you can kind of start to build out a strategy. But what I like to recommend is you don't want to be talking about 6 things at once. So you sort of say, okay, here are 4 things that are going to be important to our audience. And you build a schedule around that so that, if this is a blog or, even social media or something, you're going to make sure you're touching on those things periodically, but you don't want to talk about them all at once. So kind of remaining a tight focus.
That definitely makes sense. Absolutely. Well, Annie, listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I learned a lot today, and thanks to you, I know a little bit more about microcopy, which is something that now I'm fascinated by. I took it for granted a lot. So after hearing you get into that a little bit, I really think it's interesting, and it's something that I'm going to get better at. So thank you for bringing my attention to that, and we thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So that was Annie Murray from Whitespace Creative in Akron. We want to thank her so much for coming on today. And guess what? You just learned more about microcopy and writing content before you finish your first cup of coffee than your competition will all day. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.